In this exercise, we'll be creating a simple navigation system linking to 3 separate pages. And on one of those pages, we're going to add a sound, which will play back through streaming. And just to add to that, we'll animate a very simple progress bar along with it. I'll just play the finished file here and show you what we're going to achieve. So I'm just going to go Control Test Movie. Okay, so we do have status labels for each page. There's a start page and then page 1, 2, and 3. And I do have a separate button to bring us back to the start page. Now here's our main navigation. It's a button with a gradient in it, so when you roll over it, it shows you the 2 other buttons, and they both have rollovers. The third button, I want you to animate on the overstate a shimmer. So basically use a shape tween, put a keyframe at frame 20 and 30, then on frame 20, lighten the color. I've also attached a button sound to each of these, and if I click on 2, you hear a beep, and it brought me to page 2. If I click on 1, there's a button sound as well. And I also have a mouse down graphic with a different gradient in it. So I do want 3 states for the inside button: the normal state, the overstate, and the down state. You can just have an overstate and an upstate for button number 2 and 3. However, 3 will have the animated over feature, and that's a movie clip on the second track in your button layer, and you'll have to keyframe that. Okay. Now I'm going to click on number 3 because it's going to play the sound, and you're going to see a progress bar for that song. Now I'm going to stop that as well. I'll go back to screen 1. And you notice that the sound stopped when I clicked on one of these buttons. I added a code snippet to each one of these buttons 1 and 2, as well as the start button that is a stop all sounds command, and I'll show you how I did that now. So again, navigation, 3 rings, basically an inner circle, a second circle, and a third circle, which has an animation on the rollover. Pages 1 and 2, I only need a number reference for the page on the label in the corner, same as 2. On 3, we will create this progress bar that does accurately progress along with the song. When the song's complete, the green bar will be fully animated. Oh, and I actually didn't attach the stop sounds on the start button, but I do have it on 1 and 2. So if I go to 3 here, I can stop it on 1 and 2. So let me show you how this was built. I'll go back to my main timeline in scene 1. I got 5 different layers. One is the content layer, and in this case on the first section, it's simply the start label. At frame 10 on the first page, again it's just that label, and so on until I get to frame 30. And frame 30 actually has a movie clip which contains the song and the animation of the progress bar. So let me double click on that movie clip and show you how that's built. Just going to move this over here for a bit. Okay, so I basically created 3 layers. First layer has the sound, so I went up to the sound frame, first frame, and in properties I just selected awareness 22, and I made sure to set my sync to stream. In the second layer, I'll actually go to the last frame, it'll be easier to explain here. I created a simple rectangle with a black stroke on it. Then I highlighted that stroke keyline, cut it, in other words I removed it from the one layer, the fill layer, created a new layer called border, and pasted it onto that layer. So in effect I separated them by their layers, so if I was to hide this, it's on a separate layer as well as the green is on a separate layer. Then I went to the green on its own layer, and I called it fill. I applied a shape tween to it, then I keyframed the last frame. As you can sort of see here, keyframe the last frame, went back to the very first frame, and with my free transform tool, I reduced the width of that green bar to a sliver. But by matching the duration to the song, by nature, it's going to be completely full when the song ends. And of course, it's going to animate progressively as the song progresses. So it's a neat little trick actually to have a very accurate progress bar without using any programming. And again, just to decorate it, I put the border on top of it and in a layer above. Okay, so that's its own separate movie clip with the song playing out. Now the one problem with this is when I go back to the other pages, the song continues to play. So I actually had to add a code snippet to the other buttons, which basically says stop all sound. So let me show you how I did that. I'll just go back up to scene 1 here. And if I highlight this movie clip, which again is the navigation system, I'll double click it. I'll go to frame 2, I'll set this back to normal, where I can see all of the buttons in it. Highlighted the button, went to my code snippet, and double clicked on click to stop all sounds. I'm not going to click it here because it's already applied, but I can show it to you in the actions panel. So you can see right here button yellow, and it's also on button 1. Don't put it on button 3 though, and I'll show you why not. But here's the code that stops all sounds. I don't want to put it on button 3 because button 3 is what sends us to that to play, and if we stop the sound before it gets there, the sound will never play. I'll leave it up to you if you want to attach that script to the start button, but attach it to button number 2 and button number 1 in the navigation system. And I think that's about it. So build me a navigation system that's based on 3 circles. When I roll over the main circle, the other 2 appear. It will have an invisible button. When I roll away from them, they retract back to this. And again, this is a movie clip, and this is a movie clip. This is a button. This is just static text. Okay, I'll run it one more time. Okay, so I do have the status label up here. So when I roll over that, the gradient changes on button number 1. Button number 2, which is a larger circle behind it, changes as well. If I click button number 2, you will hear a button sound. And it also sent our playhead to page 02 in our main route timeline. And button 3, as an added feature, I want you to create an animation on the over state, simply shimmering the color. So that would involve a couple of keyframes and just using a shape tween with the raw shape changing color at the middle keyframe. And when I click on that, I'll get a button sound, and it will navigate me to page 3, which does contain the progress bar with the sound playing. So here I go. And that's what I want you to build for me today. I'm just going to click on here to prove that the stop sound does work. There we go.